The 804th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com and use promo code MMASGPN to get up to $1,000 in bonus credits.
Howdy ho, DeGenerinos. Welcome to episode 804 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to my wife, whose birthday is today. So this is her present. Your present is an episode dedicated to you, an episode that you will not watch nor listen to. So there you go. What more could a wife want for her birthday? Who am I? I am the ass grinder, Jeff Fox. Still my nickname. I haven't changed it yet. It's
That's
too good.
Not your wife's present?
That I'm the ass grinder, Jeff Fox? Maybe. Perhaps. That's Gumby Reland. Gumby's getting first. Oh, my wife heard. She has said she heard it, so I guess that counts as a present. There you go. She claims she doesn't have to listen. She doesn't have to listen or watch because she hears half of it anyway, she claims. I guess I must talk loud. So there you go. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching and or listening to this. We're all talking about LFA today. That was Daniel Gumby Reland, whose voice you heard earlier. Still under the weather, but he's battling through. You people probably haven't even noticed he's been sick for about 5 straight episodes, right?
Yeah, maybe more than that. We might be working on double figures at this point, which is not great.
Don't have kids, and if you do have kids, don't send them to school. I think that's my
they're
I remember
they're little germ factories, man.
They are little germ factories at that age. It's true. It is true. How did we do with LFA 206? Do you remember that far back, Gumby?
Yeah, I mean, Guzzi and Asplin came through for us. Keegan Genrich did not in the main event, nor did who did I have in the opener that got shut down? I think we wound up going 2-2 for a slight 1.5 loss or something like that. Because Guzzi and Asplin were both pretty big favorites. But yeah. Guzzi hit a head kick. Did you see that?
No. Did you predict he was going to?
No, but when I did an interview with him a while ago, he said that he had an itch to hit a head kick. And I went back and I clipped it. It's a hilarious clip of him being like, I've got a hankering for a head kick, and who doesn't love a heavyweight head kick?
Yep.
And now that was for 2 fights ago.
Yep.
But he did finally scratch that itch
nice.
and hit the big head kick. And then I did predict Stephen Asplin's fight perfect. So you remember last time I said he would get the standing TKO? Right. This time I'm pretty sure he'll hit Raiden Kovacs enough to drop him and then win by ground and pound. He hit him hard enough to drop him and won by ground and pound. So, perfect predictions on his style of victory 2 fights in a row.
There you go. And that's all that really matters. But we just wanted those 2 guys to win. So, well, money-wise, it would have been nice to have the other ones win.
Yeah, Guzzi has got to be Contender Series, I think.
Did he win with a head kick?
Yeah, he won with a head kick. Well, Andy's a wrestler, and now he's 7-0.
He's got a personality. So what more do you want? Really?
Yeah, he's funny as hell. Yeah.
All right, thoughts on LFA 207, Gumby? This is going down in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at the Sanford Pentagon.
A couple of really fun prospects on here. There's probably 3 people outside of the title fight that I wouldn't be shocked to see get signed to Contender Series. Which shows you it's a pretty deep card. And then obviously, if whoever wins an LFA title is always kind of on the short radar for Contender Series anyway. So obviously them, and then there's a couple more who I think you could definitely see in Contender Series this fall.
And we lost a fight, which was going to be a pretty decent fight.
Oh yeah, and that fight had a guy on it who was going to be the winner of Christian Natividad, Micah Haas, undoubtedly would have probably been Contender Series. I think it would have been Christian Natividad. That dude is so sharp. I actually talked to him on my podcast this week. His management had to convince him not to sign up for the Ultimate Fighter. Or was his management? No, his coaches. His management offered him the Ultimate Fighter, and his coaches were like, "Nah, you don't need to be in the house with out your full training camps and stuff, taking fights that determine your future. They're you're 1 fight away from Contender Series, so just go beat this guy and get on Contender Series."
Yep. And the fight fell through, sadly. Why would anyone want to go on top if there's contender series around. Like,
well, I think it just so, and you've seen the change in the people who are on Tough,
right?
It's that like typically it's people who, you know, win in such a way that's like not as fun to watch, and as a result,
Yeah.
like they're like, I don't need you to prove it to me once, I need you to prove it to me 3 times. Right?
Yeah.
Like Ryan Loder is a perfect example. Ryan Loder won the last season of The Ultimate Fighter. He's exhausting to watch. And I, you know, like it's grappling and it's wrestling and it's jujitsu. And, you know, nobody beats the drum of jujitsu more than I do, but
Yeah.
like, he's still not fun to watch. And so like, that's the kind of guy they're getting for Tough most of the time.
Yeah.
So this season of flyweights, I think will really, it will not make you watch all of the whole episode, but at least make you watch the fights.
Yeah, for sure. That is true. I'll probably even try to watch the flyweight fights because flyweights are fun. They're definitely fun size. All right, before we dive into LFA804, I'll remind you, if you're looking for all of our picks, all of our podcasts, all of our content, as kids like to say, all in one convenient place, then go to your app store and search SGPN. Get the SGPN app free wherever you get your apps, and then you'll be all set. All right, LFA804, Lewis versus Miranda, Sioux Falls, South Dakota on Friday, 9 p.m. So it'll be a split screen with the PFL, or just watch LFA, whatever. 11 bouts on the card. We are breaking, actually 10 now because one fell off. So we're going to break down half of the card in full, and then Gumby will give us some lightning round picks. And we're kicking things off with a 155-pound fight. And it is between Nikita Kulshin from Russia, Hudson Caliocane from Brazil. So you know his first name really is spelled Rudson. 155, 3 5-minute rounds. No odds yet, but these odds, Alpha is usually probably tomorrow, right? Today's Tuesday, so yeah, probably by tomorrow you shall have the odds. Caliocane, 9-3, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. This is his LFA debut. He's gone 2-2 over his last 4. Loss, win, win, loss is the pattern. With his last loss being a TKO loss. That was back in May of 2023. He's not won since December 2022. He's regional champ. He's fight at 135 and 145. All pro MMA debut. Do you know what the first promotion he fought in was called, Gumby? You don't know, but
no, I don't.
But Fatality Arena.
I love that.
Would you ever want to go anywhere named Fatality Arena, Gumby?
No, I wouldn't personally, but
no. Yeah, I thought it was the name of the place. Like, that's a bad name for a place, but it was the name of the promotion, apparently. But yeah, either or, I'm going to pass on both of those. Kulshin, a short resume for him because he's a newcomer. He's 6-0 though, with 1 knockout, 1 submission, 3-0 in LFA. 7 years younger than Caliocane, an inch of height on him. He's not fought in the Fatality Arena ever.
I think Kulshin's going to be a big favorite here, and he's one of the ones I have circled where I like a really impressive performance here. I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC was interested in this guy for a contender series fight. Yeah. My guess is probably like -250 on him here. He's coming off a win over Cedric Gunnison, which, like, you know, again, a regional level fighter, but like probably used to be a champ at CFFC, if I'm not mistaken, Gunnison was. And Kulshin handled him pretty easily. And with a combination of things, the thing that's fun about Kulshin and why I think the UFC could want to be in his business is like, he is a good wrestler. Like you might expect a Russian guy with the name Nikita Kulshin to be, but also like he like blitzes forward and switches stances when he does. And he throws punches from both sides. So like sometimes it's hooks. Sometimes there's a jab mixed in there, but like it's a blitz with like punches, and he stunned people that way. In fact, I think he stunned Gunnison once and spent the rest of the round on top that way. And when you watch Caliocane, and this is why I like him so much here, is that like Caliocane is, first of all, is coming off of being brutally knocked out by Kanan Kawahe. And I like Kanan Kawahe. I like pick him all the time when we get regional fights with him in it. But like he's mostly a wrestler. And he flatlined him in 45 seconds. And then he was out wrestled by Mateus Mendonca, who's a 145er who went 0-3 in the UFC and largely showed no wrestling.
Mendonca!
Yeah, you love the Mendonca joke. But like Mendonca, or maybe it might have been Mendonca. Mendonca out wrestled Caliocane. So like we've seen him out wrestled by a guy who I don't trust his wrestling. We've seen him knocked out by a guy who I don't trust his boxing. And he's going to be up against a guy who does everything pretty well. So yeah, give me Kulshin here.
All right, 99% are in on Kulshin on Tapology. What was the
I'm
number?
not surprised. I only said negative 250. That
But it
seems
could be
to
worse.
hint that it could be quite a bit higher.
It could be worse. I really should do a study in all the spare time I have of whether it really does align.
I know
at all.
sometimes they're off because there's been times where I've predicted something, you've told me the number, and then my prediction was fine.
There you go. Gumby's fine. He's better than fine. All right, we're going to stick with 155 for the next fight. Bryce Logan versus Landry Ward. A couple Americans. They're good American names. Ward is the Lone Star Kid, a good American nickname as well. 8-3 with 3 knockouts. He's never been finished in a fight. He's went 1-2 in LFA. I guess he's still in LFA. So 1-2 in LFA. He's lost 2 straight and gone 3-3 over his last 6. He's fed at 145, 7 years younger than Logan, 3 inches taller. Logan is 13-8, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions. He has been knocked out 4 times, submitted once. He's gone 4-0 in LFA. He's the former champ of the promotion. 1-4 over his last 5. Got TKO'd in his last bout. He's not won since February 2023. He went 1-4 in Bellator, 2014 pro MMA debut, 2-0 as a pro boxer. So you won the title, then you left the promotion and fell in hard times.
I mean, he fell in hard times because he went to Cage Warriors.
Bellator too.
Bellator, yeah. Well, he beat Peter Quelly there in Bellator, right?
Yeah.
Went over Peter Quelly, and that knockout loss that you're talking about in his last fight, if I'm not mistaken, was Mason the Dragon Jones, right? Mm-hmm. Who got him with a knee to the body. Bryce Logan should be an underdog here, is my guess. Plus 225 maybe. And I'll say, negative 250 on Landry Ward. And I'm going to go Bryce Logan. It's almost the exact opposite between these two guys in terms of what their record is. Like, one of them has had like nice moments against like tough fighters and like gritted through good performances, and then like has a 13-8 record to show for it. One of them was like the hot prospect. In fact, I'm pretty sure on this show I was like, oh, Landry Ward is a Contender Series guy for sure. And then he went and got absolutely exhausted and beat by Alfred Walker, who was like 13-9 at the time. And so like, the thing about Landry Ward is like, he is like a sharp striker from distance when he chooses to be, but then he gets into these brawls and he exhausts himself. And he's like, I think early in his career when he was fighting a terrible level of competition, he had a lot of put away power. And when you get like used to being able to knock everybody out, you're like, well, let's just dump out the reserves and knock him out here. In his last couple of fights, he hasn't been able to knock the guy out, and it's done a number on his cardio. And like, unless that changes, he's going to keep losing to these gritty dudes. And like, Bryce Logan is a gritty dude. And like, yeah, he did get knocked out by Mason Jones, but like, Mason Jones is already back in the UFC. So like, that's a pretty high level loss right there. And I think, between, the way he boxed with Mason Jones in that fight, like, I think you can see that there are paths to victory here against Landry Ward. Where like, Ward's defense is up for grabs, Ward's, especially to his body, he takes shots to the body, just a big piece of why he tires. And just that, like, I think Bryce Logan can do enough of what Alfred Walker did to Landry Ward that he should be able to win this one. So give me the big dog, most likely Bryce Logan.
Let's check. I forgot to check to see who the peeps are in on. Yeah, 24% are in on Logan. So you might be good here.
All right,
hopefully he comes through for us. All right, Gumbies, before we give you more winning picks from the Gumby, let me tell you about Edge Boost. Ever had your deposit blocked by your bank right before a big bet? Ever need to cash at 2 a.m. for another shot at the tables but hit your ATM limit? Well, Edge Boost has your back. Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors. Edge Boost gives you fast, reliable access to your funds, making it easier to move money when and where you need it without the delays that can come with traditional banks. For your high rollers, you can move up to $250,000 a day on your Edge Boost Visa debit card with unlimited withdrawals. This works 24/7 for instant deposits. Never wait for your wire to clear again. Gets better every time you deposit into a qualified gambling account. You earn cashback rewards up to 0.5%. All this for no usage fees and no minimum balance. Edge Boost is a debit account that makes it easy to get started with no credit checks, no minimum balance, and no usage fees. Simply verify your identity and you're ready to go. Finally, Edge Boost has a suite of responsible gambling tools to help you manage your bankroll and make informed decisions. What are you waiting for? Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. Sign up for Edge Boost today. And we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every sport, including The Masters this past weekend, which I killed on my place, that's a matter of fact. Plus, they have props for every game. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. They got easy deposits and lightning fast payouts using crypto. Get your Al Horford bets in for this coming weekend's start of the playoffs when you head to mybookie.ag. Make sure you use our promo code MMASGPN for 100% deposit match up to $1,000. That's mybookie.ag, promo code MMASGPN. All right, let's move up to a couple of ladies that are fighting. One of them is on Gumby's podcast for a return appearance. That would be Cheyanne Bowers, United States, against Elizabeth Rodríguez. Rodríguez from Mexico, 3 5-minute rounds. Let's break her down. Rodríguez, Ellie, you can call her. 3-3 with 1 knockout. Never been finished in a fight. 1-0 in LFA. Lost win is how her career has gone. Not much consistency. Or she is consistently inconsistent, if you want to look at it that way. A regional champ, 2 inches of height over Bowers. Bowers is the boss. 5-2, 1 knockout, 3 submissions. She's been submitted once. 4-2 in the LFA. The former champ lost her title in her last bout. She's won 5 of her last 6, but she did catch an L last bout to a Canadian, I might add. Shannon Clark. Used fed at 135, 3 years younger than Rodríguez.
We had Clark in that bout too.
Yep.
Quick little brag.
We did.
Underdog. I'm gonna go Cheyanne Bowers. I'm having a really tough time lining this though. I don't know how much that title loss is going to sort of is gonna get her stock down. Because she looked good in that fight. She looked good against Shannon Clark. Plenty of people out there arguing she won the fight. Excuse me. Plenty of people out there arguing she won the fight. She was, particularly tough in that fight and had to fight a level of fight that she had not typically fought, right? Because she's usually like, I'm going to take you down. We're going to do jiu-jitsu. And Shannon Clark was saying no to that. And Bowers still probably could have gotten the nod and nobody would have had to blink an eye at that one. So I don't know if people are going to think that's a good thing or a bad thing, though, because, Shannon Clark was also coming off an ugly loss. So I'll say Bowers. I mean, Rodríguez is 3-3, but was a Lux champion. Mm-hmm. I'll say Bowers -185, maybe plus 160 on Rodríguez. And I'm going to go Bowers. If you watch Rodríguez in her fights in Lux, her hands might be a touch better than Bowers, although it's clear that Bowers is improving in that avenue. She might be a touch faster and have a little bit longer or smarter combinations than Bowers. But the big thing is if you watch the fight where she loses her Lux title, so 3 fights ago she won it, 2 fights ago she lost it, and then she made her LFA debut and she won. But if you watch the fight where she loses it, just immediately taken down. And when she immediately gets taken down, it wasn't even with a double leg. It was a body lock, and she just crumbled underneath the girl who was kind of trying to use, not even really trying to use the body lock. And the woman who's fighting her just climbs to mount and is immediately in mount. And you're like, where is the jiu-jitsu defense at all on Elizabeth Rodríguez? And when you're up against somebody like Cheyanne Bowers, that's a nightmare, because we've seen Cheyanne Bowers won her interim title by grappling a damn good grappler and armbarring her in minutes. So Cheyanne Bowers is sharp as hell when it comes to particularly arm bars, but any kind of jiu-jitsu really. And so for Elizabeth Rodríguez to have such a glaring deficiency there, this is all Cheyanne Bowers for me.
Yeah, Bowers is, everyone's in on her. Her stock is not down with the Tapology.
I think that's probably a 3-3 opponent though. They're not handicapping much more than the record there, probably on her opponent.
Yeah, 97% for Bowers. Yep. So.
Oh well, that's a bummer.
We'll see. Gumby predicts it -185. So keep your fingers crossed until everyone steams that line up. All right, we are moving on to the co-main event now. Mitchell McKee versus Greg Fischer. U.S. versus U.S. at 135 bantamweight. We'll tell you about Fischer first. He's 12-3, 1 knockout, 5 submissions. He's been submitted once. 0-2 in LFA. However, he's won 2 straight. Before that, he has lost 2 straight. He's not fought since December 2022. He's not won since July 2021. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get our merch at sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Get sticky. He's fed at 125. 2014 pro MMA debut. An inch of height over McKee. 3 inches of reach. Merciless McKee. 8-0 with 5 knockouts. He's 6-0 in LFA, 6 years younger than Fischer, and that's all I got for him.
Yeah, Mitchell McKee should be -500 here. This is one of the clear prospects in terms of going to the Contender Series.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who LFA loves. He's a kill cliff dude. So like he comes from a big gym. And in addition to that too, he's just like he seems to be the whole package. I think if he might need to round some of his striking skills out a little bit because he's still a little raw there. But in terms of like the wrestling, the takedowns, like some of his basic boxing is right there too. Like I think he's really good. He's going to be so much faster than Fischer. Fischer, I went back and watched some of his fights because you had to go back because he hasn't fought in 3 years.
Yeah.
I went back and watched some of his fights and I'm like, oh, the very clear problem he has early in fights is that it's hard for him to find the range. It's hard for him to know how far apart his opponent is. You see him sometimes throw a punch and he comes up 6 inches short. You see him throw a punch sometimes and he's 6 inches too close to land what he actually wants to land. And so like finding the range is hard for him. Now take 3 years off and remove all timing that you've ever learned and put him up against a bulldog who's going to put him against the cage and grind him away. And that's if he doesn't want to throw. Like Mitchell McKee, maybe this is a fight where he wants to show that he can throw and doesn't have to use his grappling at all. And if he chooses to do that, like Fischer was dropped in his last fight. He got tagged real hard with a shot early, partially because of that range issue where gets too close or not close enough. And so like I think Mitchell McKee is probably going to do whatever he wants in terms of this fight, and I'm going to take him to win.
McKee via anything he wants is take that. Hopefully, my bookie has that line up there.
What he's Mitchell McKee, but based on what he's feeling that day.
Yes, exactly. All right, before we get to an all Richie main event, it's first time in our history of the podcast, I think. Let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. It's time for Gumby's bonus Underdog Pick'em play. Underdog Pick'em, you can play any sport and win up to 100 times your money. What sport are we playing today?
So you're getting this in your ears on Tuesday, and my Atlanta Braves are playing Jeff's Toronto Blue Jays on Tuesday. So I'm going to take the higher than on Spencer Schwellenbach's strikeouts. He's got 19 and 20 innings on the year, 0.45 ERA. I think he's going to cruise on Tuesday.
All right. Hopefully not, but we'll see. Take that and take our code MMASGPN. Claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. That's underdogfantasy.com. Promo code MMASGPN. The Jays can't hit. Go figure. Who could have predicted that heading into the year that the Jays were going to have trouble hitting home runs? Rhythm is your home for AI-backed picks and props. Rhythm is now live for Major League Baseball. Plus, they got models for NBA and golf. Picks so good it feels like cheating. Building your own model is simple and easy. They have models for Al Horford in the playoffs. Damn right. Rhythm also has some amazing deals going on right now. 25% off monthly subscription with the promo code SGPN25 and or 50% off in annual subscription with promo code SGPN50. So that's RITHMM for Rhythm, promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. All right. Got that out of the way. We shall get to our main event, Richie versus Richie for the LFA Lightweight Championship. Richie Lewis versus Richie Miranda, All-American Richie matchup. Miranda is Al Machete, 10-1, 4 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's never been finished in a fight. 7-1 in LFA. He's won 4 straight fights. He's not lost since April 2023. He's got 2 inches reach over the other Richie. The other Richie is Savage. Dana White must have nicknamed him. He's 6-0 with 2 knockouts, 2-0 in the LFA and the champ. He won his title in his last bout. He's also a regional champ, 2-0 as a pro grappler.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Richie Lewis here. He's probably going to be a big favorite, though. My guess, negative 225 or something like that. You'd probably get plus 200 on the return on Richie Miranda. I'm going to do some obnoxious MMA math. You ready for this one?
Oh, boy.
I'm going to use Keegan Genrich as a proxy fighter for both of these two. He blew it last week and got himself triangle choked by Jan Paul Labolsnoyani. But he's fought both of these guys. And the thing about Keegan Genrich, and I said this on last week's episode too, is Keegan Genrich, really, really, really smart grappler when it comes to his positional wrestling. When he fought Richie Miranda, dangerous on the feet. He kept getting to the takedowns, kept grinding away, didn't do much damage on top, won a split decision over Richie Miranda in terms of his grappling. Richie Lewis manhandled Keegan Genrich in a wrestling match. Like he manhandled him in a wrestling match because Richie Lewis comes from a very high-level amateur wrestling background. So we're talking about Richie Miranda's path to victory in pretty much all of his fights is by being like the sharp, devastating striker. Like he's El Machete, right? Like that's the reason his nickname is that, right? He's there to chop you up. And like Richie Lewis is the exact kind of fighter he doesn't want to fight. Richie Lewis is a guy who grinds. He doesn't give you an inch of room. And then when he does get you down, he holds you there. So like, I think that's a bad sign for Richie Miranda unless his takedown defense has gone absolutely skyrocketed from his last loss. I can't imagine he gets out of this without being taken down. If it's a 5-round fight, it might only need to be 5 times, but he probably gets taken down 5 times. So I'm going to go with Richie Lewis. I think the grappling pedigree is just way too high. We've seen problems with Miranda in that avenue, and I think it'll be too much.
All right. I wouldn't want to fight a Savage or a Machete, so I'm glad I'm not named Richie. So, all right, that is your let me give you a recap of the picks, and then we have a lightning round. Don't worry. Hopefully Gift Harding is involved in the lightning round because I love the name. He's got in the Battle of the Richies, he's got Lewis. He has got Bowers. He has got Logan. He has got Kulshin, and I missed one. I skipped over McKee. So Lewis, McKee, Bowers, Logan, and Kulshin. Lightning round, zap, bang, boom, pow.
All right, so the first one I'm going to take Leslie Hernandez. She showed up on Contender Series and got turned away by the Samurai Fight House champion there. What's her name? Why is that one drawing a blank? Julie Martinez. She got turned away by Julie Martinez on Contender Series. Certainly no shame in that. She's 20 years old and an absolute beast. But they've given Leslie Hernandez like a very winnable fight here. I don't know necessarily what the line would be like because it is a very winnable fight and she's coming off the Contender Series, but I like her in that one. And I also really like Jordan Oliver. Jordan Oliver's on a 145-pounder. He comes from an amateur wrestling background. He was an amateur wrestler at a very high level. I think we're going to see him, rinse and repeat with takedowns. And, I could go 3 deep this time. I'm going to take Abasov as well. From what I've seen from him, he's 4-0, a good prospect. They're giving him a little step up in competition. Maybe we find a playable line on him. But we'll take Leslie Hernandez, Jordan Oliver, and Abasov.
All right. You are set now for LFA. If you want more, hop in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Check us out on YouTube if you haven't already. MMA Gambling Podcast. Make sure you subscribe. That would help us out. Comment, like, share, all that fun stuff. Same as on Twitter, SGPN MMA. Gumby runs that. His personal account is at Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer. They are on Instagram. Check out my Substack and my MMA writing and my weekly UFC Pick'em contest at moneymma.substack.com. Check out Gumby's other podcast, the Top Total MMA podcast. Cheyanne Bowers is on this week, and I'm trying to think of the other one.
Christian Natividad, whose fight unfortunately is no longer on LFA 207. But we're still talking about the possibility of Contender Series, so check it out.
All right, and check us out at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Tomorrow is Cage Warriors, correct?
Correct.
No UFC, some Cage Warriors, which is good. It'll be El Machete, Jeff Fox, Merciless, Gumby Vreeland. Hopefully you won't be sick anymore. We'll have to wait and see. Talk to you then.